Hello everyone, and welcome to our CAD tutorial for architects. In this video, we'll cover essential CAD and CAD-related rules to ensure consistency and efficiency in our architectural drawings. I am Halil Elçoğlu. All right, let's get started. First thing is layer standards. Everything in the drawing, every element should be in its own layer. Assigned layer. For instance, all the walls need to go into a wall layer. All the windows need to go to a door. This is, for instance, a simplification. We can separate the doors and the windows, but generally, this is good enough. So we use the same layer for both. For instance, the blue layer is plumbing fixtures. And the reason we are doing this, and it's so important, is to be able to isolate different layers or turn on and off different layers. For instance, these are symbols. We can turn them off, and dimensions, so we can work clearly. We don't need dimensions, for instance, right now. So we turn them off, and when we need them back, we'll turn them on. All right. One big problem I see all the time is if you open the layers command in AutoCAD or the layer manager, you see like hundreds of layers. And for instance, instead of a wall, there'll be, a wall with just one L, and a wall 2, a wall something, interior, exterior, and they're all mixed up. It's basically because it's been copied from an old project, and they are not done properly. So what we need to do is, when we import something and there's a new layer, for instance, let's create a new layer. So this is not part of our standard. What we need to, if, for instance, this is we bring something in with walls, with this new layer. Right? And we still want to use it, we can use the merge command. The merge selected layers. So let's go. Okay, since this is the current layer, you can't do it when it's the current layer. So you select merge selected layers, and this is the new layer, and then merge it with a wall. Right. So what happens is all that stuff is moved to a wall. So this is an important part of housekeeping. Otherwise, like I said, it ends up being, hundreds of layers, and it's very confusing and time-consuming for all of us. Okay. So let's keep moving. One thing related to this is housekeeping. So what I mean by housekeeping is we need to use the commands purge, this scans the drawing and basically deletes everything in the database that's not being used. So this can be different dimension styles, all types of styles, or blocks, etc. And you can get to choose which one you would like to be purged, or just purge them all. This is something we need to do fairly constantly, so that all these blocks, for instance, these are copy-paste blocks. This probably, I brought something at some point, but it's not right now, it's not being used. So we can purge all of these, all right? And generally I purge like a few times because they're all nested. The next command is flatten. So this is generally for any 3D drawings that are imported to a 2D CAD file. What ends up happening is sometimes these lines look correct, but if you look at the Z dimension, it is off. What it means is basically it's really not two-dimensional. So you can use flatten to make all these 3D objects flat in 2D according to your viewport. All right. Next item is overkill. That's also a command I like very much. What it does is overkill. So what it does is it's you select the drawing, all the stuff you want to be done, and then it just checks if there are multiple overlapping segments in polylines and in other objects. This also happens a lot because we copy paste stuff on top of each other, so there are like 2-3 lines that are exactly the same on top of each other. So if you use this command, overkill, it will delete the extra lines. All right. So one thing that is very helpful with CAD standards is basically to never start from scratch. What I mean is just have we have a typical set, for instance, working set. Let's go. This is simpler. And we can just copy this as a new project and then change this stuff based on our needs, but the overall structure remains the same. I'll talk more about this later, okay? Okay, let's move to blocks. So AutoCAD is a little bit different than the 3D programs because what I see is in 3D programs, people use grouping a lot, but grouping is really not that efficient for AutoCAD. We need to use blocks as much as we can because it saves a lot of space. For instance, if we make a block of this furniture and we copy it, so it's basically really it takes up one block, one space for this information, and it just copies it. And if we need to change it in the future, we can always edit blocks. For instance, let's make this a little bit curved. I don't know. See, all the blocks are changed. That's very useful to manipulate building blocks, which we have a lot of. Like these can be blocks. These sanitary items are blocks, like these. so that they are consistent, and also if you need to go with a different design, you can just change them by editing the block. Okay, and if you have if you know how to use dynamic blocks, it's actually better, but since our projects are not that intricate, we're not using the dynamic blocks. But if you know how to use them, for instance, for doors, windows, that's great. Go ahead. So next is attributes. So let's turn on the symbols. Okay. So if you need to put a text in a standard format like this, like a finish schedule, it's best to do that with attributes. If you like put a text in here and then draw a rectangle, and if you copy it, sooner or later these will all change. It won't be standard. But if it's a block, you can copy it a million times. It won't change. It is fixed. And the info is also ordered. That way you can, in the future, like do database searches and like count how many of these in the project, for instance. And just if you need to edit the attributes, you can just double click on it, and then it'll bring up the pop-up window, and you can just do it over here very easily. Or you can do it from the properties, this here. I find this faster, so I'll just change it here. Base is steel, for instance. If you change it, changes here as well. But since this is an attribute, you won't change all of them. It's just change this single block. Okay. Do this. Okay. So going back to the file structure that I taught, what we typically have is a plan file, and it's what's shown here. But this is a little bit developed. Let's open up a permit plan, because generally the construction sets are more detailed. So let's open up the permit set. Okay. Okay. So as you see, like this, for instance, is an attribute. This is an attribute. The plans, we usually lay out plans in the plan file, and they are usually starts from 0.0. That's the edge of the site. And then copy if there are more plans, like this is one floor, this is the lower floor, and this is the roof. So these are all copied a certain distance, which is generally I use depending on the size of the project. This is like 50,000 millimeters units. But this really makes things, copying stuff, for instance, easy. Let me show you what I mean. For instance, if you want to copy this to the roof plan, and this is orthogonal, is turned on, by the way. If we just copy it 50,000 units, it will be in the correct place. And we generally put a structural grid. This also helps with mistakes, because this is also a block. So you can't change it during drawing stuff. Like, otherwise, these walls tend to get stretched, you know, they lose their direction, whatever. But if we have a structural grid, let me show you what it is here. Like this. This is a block, and based on the S layer grid. So every floor plan has that grid as a block, like this here, so that if there's something not matching, we can see it. You know, like these walls need to be matching on the grid. It's really important, right? Okay, moving on. All right. So these are the plans are in the plan file. We usually put the site plan as a separate drawing because we don't really use it that much. It's for the permit set, basically. And we put all the elevations and sections in one drawing, and also the details. All right. So what this does is, when you draw the elevation, you can XREF the plan. This is, for instance, an XREF of the plan we just saw, and it's rotated based on the site we're looking at, okay? So that we can match the plan with the elevation. Like, for instance, I use construction lines, X line, a lot. So like we check to see if this edge is aligning here, right? Stuff like that. And the windows, for instance, are aligning, the doors. It's really important. Okay. And we also use the sections this way. So you can put plan reference XREFs and just make sure everything is lined up. Okay. We generally do 2 sections, and generally they are like, if there's one this way, long or vertical, let's say, and then there's one this way. So 2 sections generally. Okay. I'm not going to get into details because maybe that we can do that later. I don't think it's important initially. Okay. And also just make sure to use, like I said, instead of groupings, you can use polylines, for instance, for the stairs. Just it's a way of organizing, right? And The next item is dimensions. So based on the scale, which is for permit, what we will be doing is 1 to 100 scale. We have the title, usually at the lower left. We have the standard 1 to 100 scale, right? This is dimension style 1-100. And ANO dims is the layer we use it. And if you see, they are all in one layer. Like I said, it's really important, for instance, to turn them on and off sometimes. And it's really important to keep them on the same style, because then the text can change. These end up moving when they're stretched, stuff like that. So let's be careful that they are all standard dimensions. And you can check the dimension styles with dimension style manager. What was the dimension style manager? Dim style is the command. Okay. And you can go between different styles here. Like we're using 1 to 100. But for the site plan, for instance, we use 1 to 500. And for enlarged plans in work drawings, construction drawings, we tend to go with 1 to 50. Okay. These are all standard, so you don't need to recreate them or modify them. You just you use these. Just make sure you use the standard ones. Okay. And also the same thing applies to text. They should be on ANO text layer, and the text height should be 200 for 1 to 100 drawings. Okay. All the spaces need to have a name. But like, for instance, these are actually, these are not for permit. So this is, you know what, this for the permit set, we can even remove these. It's no big deal. Sometimes the level of detail gets too much or too little, depending on the situation. But let's, like I said, let's assume we're doing a permit set, which is 1 to 100, both for plans and sections and elevations. Okay. The text also has a standard style. We try to use that, and you can also change the text styles. Under annotate, I guess, yeah, here. But just go with the standard, Okay. So next point is about plotting. The one part of using the correct layers for each thing, each element, is then you can print a PDF that you can control. Like, for instance, the hatches are a little bit gray. The wall lines, wall thicknesses it's a thicker line, for instance, than dimensions or the furniture, so that they punch out, And so, the contractor can see what's above and what's in the background, etc. So this is all standards. You don't need to do anything. but you need to go with the standard. TMT standard is the name of the plot style. Just use this and it will be fine. And you can edit the line thicknesses from here, but I'm not going to get into that because typically you don't need to do that. Just go with the standard and you'll be fine, okay? Next item is the plot sheet. So when we, okay. Like I said, we do the all the plans and elevations in model space, right? And then once we're finished with those and we need to prepare the set, we go to a different drawing and extract all these. Let's open this up. Okay. So this is a typical permit set plot sheet. So this is the site plan. This is 1 to 500. And the floor plans, these are all extras, by the way, so that when you change the plans, these all the changes are reflected here. That's really important. We use extras. Okay. So we extract basically the plans, everything we draw to these plot sheets. And there are two ways to go about it. We can either use the model space or we can actually use the layout. It depends on the situation. Since this is not too complex, I'd say let's go on the model space. It's just easier to copy these. And this is also a drawing. It's the title block. So this is fixed. It's an extra. So that the size of it never changes. This is a standard A1 size. So if you copy this around, it'll be always A1 size and you won't have a problem when you're plotting, okay? So we extract the plans, all the drawings here on these A1 sheets. And we just add some text like the sheet number and basically the drawing name later, okay? So these are also extras, like you see. Copy extras from here, so these drawings. So when you're working in elevations, for instance, you need to see the plans, right? But when you're printing, you don't need that. This is just for printing. This is not for working, okay? So you just put these drawings in a orderly fashion. It's always the site plan first, then the floor plans, a sewage plan, which I'll show in a bit, elevations, sections, and then if there are details, and like stair information, stair details and sections, etc. Okay, let me open the title block so you see what it is. So this is a standard drawing. So if you copy this whole file structure, you'll copy these and just use these, which is the best way to do it. You don't need to change anything, okay? And we also have a little legend. That's also pretty standard, but depending on the project, you can add or remove stuff from here. And this is also an XREF, all right? Let me show you what I mean. So this is an XREF here. It's just, we put it on every sheet like this. But since this is an XREF, if you change it on the original, it will be reflected in all of them. You don't need to change, all of these separately, okay? And the last file I want to show is foundations. So we do the foundation plans basically. So we XREF the plans, turn off some layers like dimensions and etc. And we add the foundation information and the plumbing information to it. So actually, if you remove the XREF, it's just these drawings. See? This is a plan XREF. So you put the plan and then, work these pipes in and the foundations, footings, etc. But since this is a little bit more tricky, I chose not to put it in the permit drawing set, like here, like I said. So see this red one? This is also this separate file. So this needs to be printed separately. We go to sheet. And this is the final version. That will be printed, okay? So, like I said, there are different two ways of doing it. You can use the sheet files. It allows for more customization. But I tend to use the model space and just, copy these. It's just faster that way. Okay. So this is it for now. Thank you for watching our CAD tutorial. We hope you found it informative and helpful. Remember to refer back to this video whenever you need guidance on CAD practices. If you have any questions or feedback, feel free to reach out, and happy designing. Thank you. Bye-bye.